Hey, welcome back this very cold January afternoon. So under the camera you see on black paper I've started my final of 5 planets. And if you count them, I use my compass, this tool, to draw them. If you count them, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I use my compass to draw this crescent moon shape, so that's 6. A moon is not a planet, it's a natural satellite. But you know, that's fine. We can count it as a planet. And even though this one is small in the distance, it still could be a very massive planet like Jupiter or Saturn. It just happens to be far away, okay? I've added some other details. Here I have some stars. Here I have a rocket ship coming into view. And remember that I sometimes, as I work, will add additional details. Keep in mind that as you pick your colors and lay them down, you do so very lightly with very little pressure. And you're wanting to keep a lot of this surface dark because it is outer space. You expect it to be dark. But that doesn't mean it's all dark. Here is a finished example. I happen to include on the edges, which you do not have to do, some areas of shading value work just to see what pencils work well on my black paper. You, instead of doing in the margins, can simply turn your paper over and test a pencil out. Remember, you're looking for a high value, light, so you can mix it with the black or transition to the black and get a range of value. Now the pencils you can use, and there's a lot of them, these metallics made by the Crayola company, and there's a bunch of those, they have kind of a metallic sheen on the outside. They all work really, really good on black paper. So just look for anything made by Crayola. Look for that shiny luster on the outside of the pencil, and if you need to, test it out to see if you like it. Now that gold is one of my favorites, and I know these pencils well, so it really is, in my case, not a need to test them out. You might have to try that out to see if you like them. Here's the silver, good to go. Let's test some of these others out. Now the metallics work. These pencils made by the Sargent company, they have a black paint on the outside shaft of the pencil, and then the name of the company and the name of the color printed in gold. Now these are all good for construction paper. Now that purple is pretty vibrant for a dark purple, and it works well. Just keep in mind that some colors are by their very nature very dark, so you won't see them as clearly on black paper as you might. On the other hand, colors that may not be so easy to see on white paper are very easy to see on black paper, like that orange, and in this case yellow. Yellow, made by the Sargent company, and I'll show you again this black shaft on the outside of the pencil with gold print. This is one of the only yellows in your whole box of pencils that work. So just be sure, if you need a yellow, to use this brand, Sargent, and one that looks like this, a yellow with gold print on the outside. But these are really meant to be used on black paper. So again, we're looking for that ability to give me a high value. Many of the Prismacolor pencils, and that would be most of the pencils, they say Prismacolor on the outside, many of them work. But in this case, no guarantees. You have to try them out. So I know that blue works. I know this green works. I know this pink works because I've used them before. But there are many colors, let me try this one, that do not work. Now that's not the best red or orange I've seen, so I probably would not use that. However, there are some, and I think this is, yeah, that's the same one. There are some reds that do work. You just have to try them out. In particular, let's see, here it goes. This is one of those Sargent pencils with the gold on the outside. It works pretty well as a red, as you can see under the camera, okay? Here's a decent brown. Now it's a Prismacolor pencil. It's brown, it's dark, but it works pretty good. And here's a dark green. And again, it's dark, but it works well as a dark green. So you've got a fairly good selection if you just don't mind hunting around and trying them out, okay? Trying them out is your job. You're the artist. These are your tools. You figure out how to use your tools, okay? So what I'm going to do right now, and I may not complete this picture, you can see the idea is to go across the surface of the planets, light to dark, leaving a good portion of the planets dark, okay? We need that darkest of your values in each of your planets, okay? So we're going to do that, and I might do it on this largest one first, remembering that it's going to make it easier if I leave a lot of it dark. Now, I started with a dark purple pencil. Let's see how this one works. I kind of like that purple. Push some things out of the way. Now I'm going to pretend like this edge faces some light source right here. and it's going to make that edge, that leading edge, the light source is somewhere above it, very bright. And then as we move across the curve of the planet away from the light source, it's going to go from light to dark. Now, what's that going to look like? Well, it's going to look like this. Let me show you. It's going to look like light to dark, just like this, which you have been told about a lot. So I want you to practice that. And I'm going to turn the paper upside down so I can move light to dark. And as I move across the curve of the planet, I fade to dark. And I've got to do it multiple times and blend my bands of value, light to dark, together so they appear to follow along the surface in a very uniform, very even way, okay, lighting it very evenly. Now I will come back and I will smooth things out a little bit. I've come up to the edge of my crescent moon. I'm going to have to cut in along that edge carefully. Now I'm going to back out of that area. Instead of pushing, now I'm going to push. So you decide in terms of where to position your paper, how to position your paper, what's the best thing for your right hand or your left hand, depending on which hand you prefer using. So how's that looking? Well, a little rough right there, but starting to shape up. Let's go to the left and the right and see if we can kind of complete this. Remembering that you're leaving a lot of dark on this planet so that it can function as your lower value. Here we go. Dark to light, following the curves, turning the paper in a way that allows me to get where I need to be. That crescent moon, that yellow moon, is a bit of an obstacle. It's kind of getting in my way, but you know what? It's good that it's there. It's going to make for a much more interesting picture. The fact that it's there is a good thing. Okay, so here I come into my darker areas, and I'll want to lighten, press less hard, press more lightly, get a darker surface, and there we go. So that's coming up. Let's work over here, and then we're going to go back and refine this. These bigger planets are harder to do, okay? So you may not want to do too many that are this big. You may only want to do one. You may not even want to do something this large. You may want to keep them a little bit on the smaller side so they're not quite requiring so much of your work. But that's okay. It's not taking me that long. See how I'm going back in and working a little deeper, still darker and darker still, just to get it kind of uniform and smooth. I don't have to keep using the same color, but I think I will. It's just as easy. It's doing a good job. It gives me a nice range of values. Let's see how that's looking. Well, hard to say. I need to step back and look at it from a distance. Let me come in here and strengthen this edge and make it a little brighter. If I can make that edge a little brighter with a little more pressure and pull back with a few more lighter middle values, I can come back, smooth out, transition to black, and have a broader overall range. If I have a lighter light and my black stays dark, my ability to go from lighter light to dark is bigger. I get a bigger range of value overall, and that's a good thing. So still coming down here, smoothing out, smoothing out, smoothing out. How is this left side, left of the moon, looking? Well, not bad. I'm going to come in here to the side of the moon and brighten that, just because I want that moon to stand out. Go light to dark, turn the paper, brighten this. All right, that took a long time, but we're getting close to the end on that one. Since I was talking about the moon, we might want to do it next and see how it falls into place with our big purple planet, the one we just spent so much time on, okay? There we go, light to dark. Not too bad, not the best, but not too bad. I am going to go back and get that yellow. Let me find it. This is that yellow that's the only one, the only yellow that kind of works. Let me go into the horns of the moon. The horns of this crescent moon are the points. So there's one horn of the moon right there. And I'm going to fill. Corners are easy to do because they're small. I'm going to fill lightly and then transition to dark as I come back out. Light to dark. Might do some blending of colors there. And so it goes. You see, you'd have to do each planet separately. Careful to cut in, get those edges nice and clean. Fill in the horn, pull back, release pressure. Don't press as hard. And fade out. Fade out to a darker yellow, okay? If you want to make it a solid, bright yellow, you can, but that's more work. All that pressure is more work. Clean up my edges. I don't want them to look too sloppy. Smooth out that middle section. It got darker. It didn't get that dark. And so my moon is done. You know what I'm going to do? Because I like these metallics so much, and I especially like this gold metallic, I am going to lightly, see how I draw lightly, and then I press a little harder, put some rings around the moon. Okay, it looks like a banana with rings around it. Don't know if I can do it down here. Let me try. Kind of. It kind of works. And I'll put one right here for good measure. Let's make this one kind of backwards, okay? So I put some rings wrapping around my moon. Well, I've got that in my hand. I'm going to reinforce this ring, and I'm just going to fill those in. And then I'll work on the planet that they surround, okay? Light to dark, remember? You don't have to do it solid. Light to dark is okay. Always come back and do more later if you're not happy with that first pass of color. So there's that ring. Let's go in here maybe with this orange. That's pretty sharp. I'm going to snap that off with my finger. Cut in there with my orange. I'm going to make this side, that would be the left side as I'm looking at it, right over here. That's the left side. Brighter, and then of course I'll leave the right side darker because I've got to be able to go light to dark, just like I'm doing right now. Here's light on the left, fading to dark on the right, fading to dark. And maybe I want to put an extra shot of bright yellow there, just like the sun is shining on that. I might even put some bright yellow there. That yellow is coming in handy, isn't it? Bright shot of yellow there. Okay, you can see how that bright edge really makes that pop. I could even put a bright shot of yellow there. Or, you know what else? I think I have a white here now. Oops, no, that's not a white. Here's a white. I could even use a white if I wanted to. Oh, that really makes it pop. Okay, if you wanted to do white. So you can see this coming together. It's not yet done. Very quickly, I'm going to do this spacecraft. I think maybe this metallic. Let's try it out. I'm going to go light to dark. There is the fuselage. Let's get that done first. I'm going to lay that in. Maybe the bottom half will be brighter. This is the bright side. Notice how I have a bright side and a dark side. That's the bright side, and I'm going to fade to dark as I travel around the fuselage. That would be the body of the spacecraft. Dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. I pick up this orange, not orange, I'm sorry, purple. And let's do a little quick fill in on that fin and another quick fill, making sure we can see the fins, that they stand out. Let's take and put a little bit here. This is a light color. And put a little bit of pink on the canopy there, dark to light. I'm going to make that edge of that. I'm going to use that pink to kind of go around those fins. They don't stand out, so I'm going to outline them a little bit. Okay, here I see a planet with stripes, so I might go light to dark. And here's another stripe that I can do in blue. Turn my paper. Light to dark, and finally down here, light to dark. And I can't leave the greens alone. Here, this green might work. Let's try it. It can go light to dark. I want to be a little careful there. Another green, light to dark. Okay, that last planet kind of sloppy. So not yet done. I still have to finish this planet. I still have to do my stars. But apart from this far left and these stars on the right and that distant planet here in the back, I don't have much to do. Here, let's do this one real fast. With the same color. Balance, you used it over here on the left, now you're using it on the right. Sometimes we need to do that to balance things out. So I'm going to make that light to dark like that. Okay, so remember to do all 5 planets. Fill your space in an exciting way. Try to do shading. Try to do overlapping, one thing on top of another, and maybe a little detail now and then. Okay, now you try.